It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Dillon's location on Vine Street in Hayes. We record our forum program every Monday afternoon out here at Dillon's, and our guest today is Eric Norris, who's with the Hayes Public Library. The forum is brought to you by Hayes Med. Eric, good to have you on our program today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, one of the things you drive by, we have such a beautiful library, and yet I know a lot of people just kind of drive by the library and don't understand some of the cool things you have going on inside.
Exactly. We have a lot of great things that go on, and we still have that. People come into the library for the first time and didn't realize that we had DVDs, Blu-rays, stuff like that, but there's a lot more that goes on, you know, with our collection than just books.
You know, one of the things I know that's important, and everybody has their library card or should have their library card. Mm-hmm. It's more important to use your library card than to have your library card.
Absolutely. And nowadays it's easier to actually use the library without even coming down to the library. There's ways that you can access different databases and things that we have or digital content from your home by using your library card. You do need your library card and to punch that card number in to give you access to it. But we still like to see people come down and use the card and pick up books too.
Well, we're going to talk about in the second half of our program about kind of the futures of the library system and how that's working, because so many things are changing so fast. But tell me, what's exciting in the world of the library right now?
Right now, here locally, we've got the Frost Fest coming up. That's always a good time. DHDC has got everything getting ready to go for the Snowman Shuffle, I think is the theme this year for the Frost Fest. And we're getting ready to have all the activities that we have on Saturday. In the mornings, I think we're doing breakfast with Santa, and that'll be around 9 o'clock in the morning for the children. There's also cookie decorating.
So older people like me can't come down and have breakfast?
You can come down and have breakfast with Santa if you'd like. I think it's more enjoyable for the kids. But,
I need all the help I can get at Christmas.
A lot of us do. I go down and help for that usually for that. But we have cookie decorating that goes on. We'll have bingo that goes on. And then about 4 o'clock, we're going to start giving away some hot cocoa and invite everybody to come down to get ready for the parade. And then our services will close that day at our normal time at about 5. But we're going to keep the doors open through the parade so to give people a place to kind of use the restroom, get out of the cold and stuff like that.
Well, you know, Frost Fest has been such an exciting thing because it is a time of year where you don't think much about having parades, but yet on a cold day there, and we've been through some cold days.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are still hundreds, if not thousands, of people out to watch that parade.
Yeah, it's a great time. Neat floats, a lot of people get involved with it. And speaking of which, too, we are inviting people if they want to come down and help us with our float this year. That week before, during the afternoons, we're going to have some YA kids coming down and working with it, but we're inviting the public, too. If there's somebody that's interested in helping out, we'll take all the help we can get.
Is that something that they should contact you about, or is there somebody in charge of library floats for the Frost Fest parade?
Our young adult department librarian, Scott Rader, is the person to get a hold of.
Very cool. Well, when you talk about the library and what's going on, if they come in today, what will people see different if they haven't maybe been there for a little while?
You know, we're trying to promote a lot more programs than what we have in the past. We still have the collections, we still have the movies, the music, internet access, but we also are looking at the library as more of a place to kind of meet and get together also. So we are trying to do a lot more programs during the week. We have book clubs that get together once a month. We've got movie clubs that get together. They'll read the book tie-in first and then watch the movie. There's lots of programs for children and teens, but we're trying to get more people in to experience those programs and events than just coming down and checking out books.
You know, I do see the possibility too, when, you know, families coming to town, it's a great venue when it's cold outside.
Absolutely.
To be able to bring the kids inside with, especially the book selection for kids. You guys have a lot of really fun things for kids to do.
Absolutely. The books for kids are always such a neat thing. There's so many that come out during the year. We try to get all the best ones that we can, but then we would have to keep building onto the building every year if we wanted to kind of do that. So if you're coming down and there's a book you're hearing about on one of the news programs too, and we don't have it available, ask one of the librarians and we will purchase it, and if we can't get it bought for whatever reason, then we'll borrow it from another librarian.
Well, you mentioned books. You can only keep bringing in books so long before you have to. Who makes that decision on what you bring in?
Our librarians, we have 4 librarians that are there that are in charge of each of the departments, the adult, children's, YA, and Kansas room. Those 4 librarians are in charge of the collection development for their individual sections. So there's resources out there that will review books, review movies, review music. They'll rate it. There'll be library professionals that will write reviews and rate it for how it will fit into library collections. We also listen to news programs. You'll hear something get featured on the Today Show or some news programs like that kind of come out. And those librarians will make those selections throughout the month. And then, like I said, we do take a lot of recommendations. If there's something that you're looking for or you're here that it's coming out, if we have it on order, we'll put it on hold for you so you can get you in line for that item. And if we don't have it ordered, we'll order it in for you and put you first on the list.
You mentioned the Kansas room as well. That's always an exciting place to look for kind of things that really relevant to what we're doing here.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is so many great collections that are down in the Kansas room. It's absolutely fantastic. Our Kansas room librarian, Lucy Bain, does an excellent job. She has been in the community, I think, about 2 or 3 years. Jumped right in, learned a lot, become very involved, and it's a neat experience to go down and talk to her and have her show you that Kansas room, show you what the resources are that are down there. Really incredible.
Now, when you need something like that, are there any time constraints with hooking up with her in the Kansas room or really any of the specialty areas?
No, not really. We have schedules that are out for each one of the librarians. Lucy has changed her schedule a little bit to be there more on Saturdays because we weren't having a presence on the weekends for people that were coming in. We got a lot of people that are traveling that look up genealogies. She's made more of an effort to be there on Saturday, and because of that, we are closed for a time on Monday. Or the Kansas room is closed, not the library itself.
One of the other things you talked about was some of the electronics section, because in the world there was a day when most information was in the written form, in a book, in a paper, that sort of thing. That world is fastly changing with these kind of deals where everything is electronic, whether it be electronic digital books or audio books, the video, that sort of thing. How's the library keeping up with all of that?
The library, in general, libraries across the United States, especially public libraries, are very adaptable to new processes that come out, new digital, new content, basically, is the best way to describe it. So whether you're talking about a physical media such as a book or a DVD or something along those lines, or adapting into digital content, libraries have always paid very close attention to new technologies that are coming out and have done their best within their budgetary constraints to follow those new trends and in some cases get out ahead of them a little bit. When video game systems were first coming out, it was something that you couldn't just go rent them. You were still in place where you had to buy them. Libraries jumped right in and started purchasing those and getting them out to their communities so they could be rent and have more access to them instead of just being locked into just purchasing the equipment. With the digital content, there are still some kinks that are being worked out. The libraries are trying to stay up with it the best that we can, but we're kind of stuck in the middle between the publisher and the content provider. And sometimes we don't have all the access that we'd like to have, but we're kind of stuck in the middle there.
So you can still rent a book on a digital form, but it's a little more different than just maybe going to one of the, I say Amazon or one of those where you just click and buy the book.
Well, it just comes down to how long you can keep something, and what the patrons don't see is that sometimes we'll be locked into a type of situation to where we can only check that book out so many times, and then we have to purchase it again. But this is nothing new. Back when they were doing magazine subscriptions, we have to pay more for magazine subscriptions because more people get to see them for, the price point for what they're seeing on the publishing side of it. So it's there are things like that we have to be aware of. And then a lot of times people want to come in and there may be a bestseller or something along the lines that they want to get digital content for, and it's just not out there yet. The publisher is still trying to work it out with the content provider, and they haven't got it ready to go. And so we don't have it to offer. It's not that we wouldn't offer it, it's just that we can't even get a hold of it ourselves.
How does that work with audiobooks and movies, that type of thing as well? Same deal?
Same deal. Videos are a little bit different. They've been around for a while. There was always kind of one of those things to where, you couldn't take a book and photocopy it, but you could kind of rip a movie, and put it on your computer. So they've been aware of that for a while. And digitally, there was an easier transition for movies and audio than there was for books.
What's your hardest day? I mean, when you look at trying to keep all of this up to speed and yet still keep the traditional books that everybody wants. I mean, what's the hardest day for doing that type of thing?
The hardest day for me is when we hear of new services that we want to bring in, and we're trying to make those decisions about what we can bring in. We're looking at our budget, and when we get excited about something and trying to get that in place and up and going. It's a good hard, but it's...
Well, we'll talk about that budget, because everything comes down to how much money.
Absolutely.
There's unlimited money. We have a beautiful facility, you know, we have great resources, but still it takes money to run the library.
Absolutely, absolutely it does. We try to be very, very aware of that. We operate off tax dollars. When people pay their property taxes, a portion of that comes to the library, and we try to be as best stewards of it that we can.
So in other words, if you're paying property tax, you're part of the community, you're paying taxes, you might as well come down and use the library.
I like to say, a lot of people like to say, well, come and use the library because it's free. It really isn't free, but you've already paid for it. So you might as well come and use it because you've already made that investment.
How long have you been in the library business?
Full-time for 10 years, but I worked at the Hayes Public Library for 2 years part-time before that, so,
Okay,
12 years.
So 12 years total. When we come back from break, Eric, we're going to talk about the next 12 years.
Okay.
And what that means in the library business, what
Absolutely.
direction we're heading, and then kind of wrap up with some things taking place at the library. We'll recap those once again. Our guest is Eric Norris. He's the director of Hayes Public Library. Back with more after this from Hayes Med.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hayes Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.hayesmed.com.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications. Our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum program here on Eagle Community Television. The forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. If you have questions, comments, ideas, suggestions, we'd like to hear from you. Send notes. You can send them to Eric too, but probably ought to send them to me, gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. We'd like to know what you're thinking. And you can go in, you get suggestions at the library?
Oh, we get lots of suggestions at the
Lots
library.
of, well, if you're hearing about this show, send them to me.
I'll
okay?
do that.
All right, Eric Norris is our guest here. He's the director of the Hayes Public Library. We went into the break, Eric, talking about your 12 previous years, kind of in the library field.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen in the next 10 years? You look out there, you look at internet, you look at the way that is exploding, you look at the ability to jump onto one of these things and boom, there's a book, there's an audio book, there's a video. How does that parlay into a successful library 10 years down the road?
You know, we do spend a lot of time at conferences talking about what the future of libraries will look like. And for the most part, it can be a little cloudy. We're not sure what kind of new things are going to come down the pipe. We can kind of look at what's happening right now and realize that when you're seeing the kernel of something starting, that it will fully develop in 5-10 years from now. Maker spaces are a big thing right now with libraries, and a lot of public libraries are looking to that sort of stuff.
Describe that a little bit more. What are you talking about?
A maker space can take the form of anything where a patron can come down into the library and use space to create something. Now, it could be something physical. There's been a lot of talk about 3D printers, and the future for 3D printers is wide open right now. I don't even know how to talk about where that may lead to, because the options are incredible with that. But to have a patron to be able to come down and use a 3D printer, there's libraries that are creating recording studios to where if you want to record your own histories, your grandpa's letters from World War II, if you want to record music, you could use spaces for that. And there's also people that get together and will teach kids how to knit, and they'll treat that as kind of like a makerspace, because they're allowing kids or teaching kids how to create something.
That's interesting, because at some point, hard copies of books may get fewer and fewer. I guess you see that as it goes.
Yeah.
Reading, however, learning, they're not going away.
No, that will continually be a process, but the manner and how you do it, I think it's changing already.
Talk a little bit about, we mentioned the children's area. Having a child sit down and read a book and being able to read to that child really gets them on the right path for doing, whether it be electronic books or audiobooks, whatever, it gets them on the right path. And the library offers so many ways to do that.
Absolutely. We do have, there are programs and reading times, story times for kids of all sorts of different ages. We offer Spanish language story times. Certain times during the month. There's times to where we have tutors that come in, whether they're Fort Hays students or we do have older people that will come in and sit down, retired individuals that will sit down and tutor kids or work with them on reading things. If you call up to the children's department or email Kat Kroger, who is our children's librarian, they have so many wonderful programs up there. I would do it injustice because I can remember everything that goes on, but the story times in particular are becoming more interactive, where Kat is really focused in on that idea that you could sit down and open a book or pull up a tablet and read it to a child, but if you have the child moving while it's happening, if they're interacting with a story in one capacity or another, then you're affecting different parts of the brain that will actually spark on a stronger connection to that learning process.
I know one of the things in that same vein is some of the after-school programs and tutoring programs that are in place to really help kids that need that extra help.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's something that, as with every program, it's free and open to the public. You just have to call down and set up appointment times and just be consistent with it. We do like people, we have had situations where somebody set up appointments and then failed to deliver on that, and then we have to drop them out, those types of things. But set up those times, make those appointments, come in, and if the kids are willing to do the work, so are the volunteers.
You know, you have some beautiful space down there. You have space, for music, you have space for art. Is that something that will grow as maybe the number of hard copy books gets smaller and smaller, or do you think you'll always have a large collection of the hardcover books?
We'll try to, when we have to go through and weed the collection to pull out irrelevant information, or when books get torn up or beat up or something along those lines, I always feel a little sad. I wish we could keep adding basements or keep adding stories to keep the physical collection that's as big as it can be. But we are looking at some ways that you can create more community type spaces. We do want to keep the stacks. We do, the importance of the physical collection will never diminish. That's the whole reason that we're there. But the space to have people come in to hear music, to hear programs, to learn about either the community or something larger, I'd like to see that grow.
Tell me about your team, because it's one thing to get in and you can go online, click, find the book, there it is. I'm pretty good with that. You go into the library and you see all these books and aisles and aisles of stuff. You guys have a great team to help people find what they want.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we really try to work with people that come in. The part-time crew that we have that work the front desk and reshelve the books and things like that, very, very important part of the team. Those are the people that are on point, meeting the patrons, taking them around. They know the collection really well. They know where to find things. They know how to manage and can teach people how to give the quick, 5-minute tour of how to manipulate the databases. And we really try to make it a point to work with our part-time people about working with the public. And it's not an easy job.
Yeah, but, and as long as people know what they want, then you can help. But sometimes it's just when you're doing that research thing, you really need some guidance as to what direction to the library head to.
That is Library School 101 is the reference questions. It's called a reference interview. When a patron comes in and they're asking you a question, there is a high percentage chance that patron isn't really sure what they're looking for. They know what they want, but they're not sure. They're not asking the right questions to direct them there. So you have to talk to people and get that communication line open and realizing that, what they're talking about is, be able to point them in the right direction.
Well, I hope people run into the library when they see this. They go running right down and come in and see you, or at least when they're downtown, stop by. One final question for you. When you look and you have a chance to pick up a tablet or a book, as a librarian, what do you pick up first?
I pick up a book.
You go right to that book every time.
I love offering the Sunflower and the Hoopla that we've got are great. The digital stuff is fantastic. Personally, I stare at computers too long, that sort of stuff. I stick with books, still read a lot of books.
Well, and if you're at home watching, whether you read books, tablets, listen to things, they have it down for you at the Hayes Public Library.
Absolutely.
And people can stop by. Give us your hours and what's the best way to communicate. You can find out on the internet what's going on down at the library?
You can go to our website. We've got a calendar that's set up. We do have a listserv that you can sign up for too. If you just give your email address to one of the librarians, they can get you set up so we can pump the information out to you. Hours Monday through Thursday, we're open until 8 o'clock. Fridays we close at 6. Saturdays and Sundays we close at 5. So.
And if you have a late book, what do? Bring it back and just shove
Bring
it in the slot and go?
Shove it in the slot. We'll send you the bill later on.
Okay, I won't know anybody that has a late book.
No. Nobody does.
No one has that sort of. Eric, thanks for being on our program
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Eric Norris, he's the director of the Hayes Public Library. Thanks to you for watching the forum. It's brought to you by Hayes Men and by Eagle Communication. Our community connected.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hayes Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.hayesmed.com.